Who am I? The co-writer, creator, and producer of the comic book that is taking the world by storm, Yi Shin, the true-to-life Korean warrior who fended off a massive invasion from the Japanese samurai. He never lost a single battle, and neither have I. I've been endorsed by the best, including the legendary Stan Lee himself. My partner and mentor is none other than celebrated comics creator David Anthony Kraft, who's written everything from Spider-Man and Hulk to Superman and Batman. Over the years, and with his expertise, I have honed and sharpened my skills in all arenas of publishing. My battleground is on the front lines of comic conventions near and far. I've sold over 100,000 copies around the globe, and Yi Shin has now become a powerhouse with over 250,000 copies in print. I command the series that cannot be defeated in battle. I'm Henri Kompan, and you're watching Onward with Onrie. Welcome back, Victory Seekers. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, and share this video. Help me keep this ship afloat. It's been an interesting year so far, given that my last convention was 5 months ago. It feels like forever since the last time I got on a floor. I miss it. A lot. Where we last left off, things got pretty dark for a while. As the pandemic began to spread, conventions canceled one after the other, and so I turned to doing online live interviews with comic book creators in order to connect with my contemporaries and gain some much-needed perspective to help me make sense of what's transpired. My hope, of course, was that in the latter part of the year, this would all blow over and I'd be able to pick up from where I left off. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. I shifted my focus to doing interviews so that I could maintain some form of presence, but in some ways it actually made me feel invisible and at times irrelevant, because let's face it, it's literally impossible to stand out on the internet with everything that is currently going on. Being on the front lines and engaging fans is where I truly shine and am at my strongest. I really wanted this episode to be focused on my valiant return to Comic-Con. I was so eager to jump right into the lion's den when Tampa Bay Comic-Con was given the go-ahead to proceed in early July. All throughout June, I was preparing myself vigorously for the show. I was working out and managed to bring my weight down even further. I'm now in such fit condition that I have no doubt that when I do return to battle, I will perform incredible feats. I'm stronger now than I have ever been in my entire life. I was so ready to get back to work as businesses began opening back up. But then we started to see some really big spikes in the state of Florida. And before I knew it, the show I was preparing myself for, both physically and mentally, was canceled. A few weeks later, so were all the other major shows I had lined up for the year. I hadn't felt this depressed in a long time. The one thing that I really wanted to avoid doing was getting on unemployment, but now it looked like I had no other choice. The biggest gut punch was seeing how stagnant everything suddenly became. Now don't get me wrong, Yi Shin is still selling online and through select comic shops, but other than that, my main vessel for bringing my work to the world has been brought to a standstill. It was hard to be productive, as you could imagine, because I began to question myself and my worth. I wondered what all my struggles were for if I couldn't do what I worked so hard for. I was lost and angry at everyone and everything. When I was at my lowest, I realized that it was because I was bogged down so heavily by all the media I was absorbing on the internet. The political climate has never been more volatile or hostile. The pandemic, the elections, and social issues that plague our country have created a perfect storm that has made it almost impossible for anyone to feel even a shred of hope or optimism. The most unsettling aspect about our current predicament is that no matter what I say, do, or feel, I'm powerless. There is nothing I can do to make this all go away. There is no way I can snap my fingers and get back to building my business. All of that is on hold indefinitely, whether I like it or not. The biggest challenge was realizing that I can't just shut myself off from what's going on completely. I need to be somewhat cognizant of what's happening in the world, so I need to be tuned into the internet. But I don't have to be a slave to it. Like any bad habit, I decided to break it by placing limits on how much time I spend on social media. Eventually, I started to shift my focus to what was important, and I regained some control of my life. As a result, I actually started sleeping better and have had more energy throughout the day. Despite the fact that comic conventions have all been canceled, my journey still continues. And even though Yisunshin sales aren't where I expected they would be, we're making some major headway with the next issue. And I can promise you that when we get back out there, we're going to hit back harder than ever. This time away from Comic-Con has made me realize that this is the perfect opportunity to rise to the occasion. And so I've begun working on a brand new project that is going to be completely different from Yisunshin and will stray away from history as well. I couldn't have picked a better time to escape reality given everything that is currently going on. In fact, the further away from reality I can get right now, the better. I've made it a point with this next book to make as much stuff up as I possibly can so that I can reach a new audience, while at the same time continue to build on everything I've established with Yisunshin and Marks. Over the course of my career, I've been so fixated on grounding most of my work in reality. When I entered comics, I made an oath to never talk down to my audience by doing anything that I consider to be juvenile. I want my readers to be sucked into the books I write and to enjoy them immensely, regardless of the subject matter. The guests I've had so far on Live with Onrie have really helped me come around, and I'm so grateful to all of them. So with my next project, I'm going to prove that I have range. And while I may not be the next Stan Lee, Scott Snyder, or Robert Kirkman, I'll always be the first and only Henri Kompan. This is my chance to jump into the game of world building, which has inspired me to bring this show back on. One of the main reasons why I was so reluctant to do anything outside of Yisunshin for so long, aside from the fact that conventions took up so much of my time, was that I wanted my work to stand out and to be original. Well, I quickly learned that no one can be original anymore. No matter how much you try, someone has done it already. The question is, how will I make it different? How will my take on a known concept be evolved with my experience? The answers to these questions are what propel me forward. I now have all the time in the world to figure it out, and I have vowed to myself that I will. When I return to Comic-Con, I will be coming back with added muscle. I'm not going to give away what my next project is yet, but I will share the lessons I learned with you as I dive deeper into development. Now, the first thing I've done in order to kick things off is to read comics. Reading comics has been proven to release endorphins, as my good friend and local comic book shop owner, Pete Hurst of North Shore Comics, has said on more than one occasion. And as a comics creator, this applies to me even more so. In order to make good comics, I've got to read comics. So my first step has been to absorb as much new content as I can and to study current trends, just like I did before I started producing Yisunshin. My book needs to have a certain feel to it. So I'm looking at various art styles and paying attention to what's working and what people are receptive to. I've been learning a lot from the comics I've been reading, and so every week I'll be doing a 60-second review on the titles that have the greatest impact on me. Sit back and check out the first one right now. Welcome to another 60-second review, folks. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Now, this week I got a great series here. It's called Firepower. I discovered this at my local comic book shop. It was part of a free comic book day thing. I took it home, and I was a little skeptical about it at first, but I literally tore through this book in 10 minutes flat. And the amazing thing about this book is there's really not a lot of action in it. It's basically about a family barbecue, but it's so well written and illustrated that it compelled me to pick up this prequel here. And I literally read through this in one sitting. And let me just say something about both of these books right here, which is all done by the same creative team. There is perfect harmony between the writing, the artwork, the coloring, and the lettering. Everything across the board is great. I am jealous of how great this book is. This is the kind of stuff I want to be doing. It's fantastic. It needs no praise from me because it is selling out across the board, but do me a favor and pick it up anyway. Firepower, Robert Kirkman, Chris Samney, and get on it. It's great stuff. Reading comics, while fun, is only a warm-up for development. My first task is to build out an outline for what my comic is going to be. Presently, I'm working on refining that outline. I have my concept figured out, but I need to build a living, breathing world around it and populate it with characters that will speak to me. I'm jotting down a lot of my ideas in a notepad, And I'm also talking to my Yisun cohort, David Anthony Kraft, who has been extremely helpful as well, and will definitely be involved in this project, because I love working with him. Besides, I'll need his help navigating through this bold, uncharted territory, and I can't think of anyone else I'd rather have at my side. So things are happening, and although I'm not hitting the convention scene anytime soon, I'm in a very good place, and I'm confident that we will all be able to return to them next year. Always have something to look forward to. I look forward to seeing you guys with a brand new episode next week as the journey continues. Stay healthy and safe out there, Victory Seekers, and as always, onward to victory!